Got that there. All right. So yeah, it looks like we live. We are on the channel. Uh, excuse me. What's going on, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another. Thanks for tuning in to another video on the Conscious Approach channel. Myself, JV Wins, is here again with Dogon SS. Figure we'd have a little bit of fun doing a bit of a comparison and contrast type thing. So we found two clips that kind of exemplifies what I will speak for myself. It kind of exemplifies the type of female from a mindset standpoint that is more than likely able to find successful relationships as opposed to not being able to do so. And then we have another clip after that where it just kind of shows how some of us dudes out here give all of us kind of a rotten name. But we'll start off first with this clip from this is a content creator. She makes videos on TikTok. Her name is Diamond Fierce. There's going to be a link, obviously, to this in the description of this video if you want to check it out. Follow her on her TikTok. I'm pretty sure she makes videos that she puts on the rest of her social media. But we saw this come across on TikTok, where essentially she is explaining her mindset and her approach to her relationship and why she's beholden to it, and how being beholden to her relationship, somewhat stops her from making certain decisions that she thinks would compromise the integrity of the relationship. Which, of course, if you're in a relationship, why would you want to compromise the integrity of said relationship, right? So we'll go ahead and play this, hear what she has to say, and we'll talk about it once it's over.
That girls be saying be having me weak. Quick little story time. So there are 3 girls that I hang out with that I consider my actual friends. Now there's some other girls that hang out with us sometimes too, but they're more like acquaintances. So one of the acquaintances asked me and my friends if we wanted to go to Miami with her and some other people. So me and my friends, all of us are in serious relationships. So we all were like, nah, we can't go. We gotta sit this one out. So she asked us why, and we all gave her the same response again. We all was like, we not going unless our man can come with us. So it's a no from us. So she got upset. She was like, I can't stand when girls get into relationships and act like they can't have a life outside of their man. So we're just like, girl, we have lives. It's just, we also have a man. We don't want to go to Miami and throw our ass in a circle until 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, we don't do that. Now, y'all single. Y'all have at it. Y'all can do what y'all want to do. You can do that and don't have to worry about answering to nobody. Go ahead. But us, we not about to disrespect our man like that. We just not going to do it. When we do outings that are relationship appropriate. We'll go have a little brunch and mimosas. We will go to the nail salon. We can go to Target and buy a bunch of shit that we don't need. We can get cute and go sit down and have a nice meal and catch up. We can go to a little wine tasting. But I'm not going to Miami for a week, boo. I'm just not going to do it. If he's not coming, I'm not going. Especially since my man works a lot. My time with him is already limited. You think I'm about to cut out even more time to go to Miami for a week? Like, no. Now, if you ever want to do a couples retreat, boo, call me. But the girls' trips, no. I'm sitting it out every single time. I'm sorry, I'm not going. She talking about something. Y'all just too attached to y'all man. Your point? What's your point? What's the point? Because you're motherfucking right. Every chance I get, I'm glued to his hip. Okay? Glued, not moving. So, you gonna be mad, baby. You just gonna be upset today. Yo, some of this.
All right, so there you have it. So you brought this video to my attention. Obviously, I watched it. The first thing that I thought of was, I guess the first thing that came to my mind was there's probably some division amongst the ranks of women who agree with her and who don't agree with her. I would assume as such. And, I'm not a woman, So I can't speak to the point of how beholden a woman should be to her relationship, but it was clear from this clip that this woman is beholden to her relationship because she thinks that she owes it that level of respect and appreciation in order for it to be properly maintained. But I don't know whether there are other types of sets of priorities and if there are levels to which you should and should not be beholden. I don't know. But I think what is apparent from this clip is that she's good with her situation. It seems as though there's probably little strife in her own individual relationship. Reasonably speaking, not to take into account the basic arguing, fussing, and fighting that is inherent in any relationship, no matter how good it is. But it kind of seems like she prioritizes these types of mentalities and thought processes when it comes to her relationship, and it looks like she's all the better for it. But I would imagine that there are other women who would disagree. The question is whether the women who would disagree with her or other women who think like her, the question is whether they are themselves in their own good relationships. That would be the question. And of course, I don't know the answer to that, but my assumption would be probably not. I don't know, but that was my initial take on watching that clip.
Yeah, fair. Mine's was a little bit more of a personal take on this due to previous relationships or situationships that I've had in the past, and so this is a common theme that I feel like a lot of men are experiencing nowadays when they're on the dating scene or they're in relationships or what have you. And I had met a nice young lady, well educated, um, you know, uh, seems like everything's cool aesthetically, so everything was making sense. And then we go out and we have a date, and we go out and we had a good time on the date, nothing really crazy, but we talked afterwards. So during our talk afterwards, the topic of travel came up, and travel is really big with modern women nowadays. And so I have voiced my concerns about girls' trips. They really don't make too much sense to me from the sense that from the angle that I've seen girl trips occur. I think I know what happens on those. Not every girl trip is the same, but it was just one of those things where I just didn't. I don't know. I just don't trust it. It don't sound right, and I just feel like if you're really in a committed relationship, well, you don't want to do single person stuff anymore. And going out with your girls out of town for a week or a weekend sounds single to me, especially if your friends are single. So it's kind of like, well, what's the value system going on out there when there's five girls, for instance, and only two of them are in relationships? That's a bad ratio, and I don't know what happens out there. So I told the girl that I said, hey, I say, you know what? I don't get why girls go, but I get that you do have to go. So therefore, I don't care what goes on out there. Whenever I say this latter part of I don't care what happens out there, that's when I get in trouble. And because at this point I don't trust them because I don't care what they do out there. It's a weird dynamic. So it's one of those things where I just now I don't care. I just don't say it out loud. And so, because I don't care what they do, if a woman is on that page where she feels like she's too attached to a man, to she feels like if she goes out of town on her guy that she's doing, like, if she goes out of town while she's in a relationship, she doesn't feel like she's being held down or controlled by the man and all this other jazz that every one of these girls be talking about. And so, if she's already on that page, then at that point she's not bringing 100, in my opinion, she's not bringing 100% of herself to the relationship. It's kind of like those girls that have secret bank accounts, even though they're in a whole relationship, but they have a whole nother bank account that a guy doesn't know about. It's that kind of behavior where they're basically already preparing for divorce, already preparing for a life outside of the guy. There's this huge life outside of their husband relationship dynamic that girls are talking about. And so for guys that are out there on the dating scene where this doesn't make sense of, what do you mean you, I get it that you do have to have a life outside of your spouse, but at the same time, how far does that go? And so for dudes out there that keep getting slapped with, oh, you're being insecure, you're being this, you're being that, for this woman to actually say this on the internet, for other people to hear, to me, it was like, yeah, I think more women need to hear that there's women that think like this and it's not a twisted or whatever type of logic. But at the same time, the girls that don't feel like her, they will stay in their mindset of this girl's brainwashed. So it's kind of it's a tough situation. It's a catch-22. So the only thing I would say, and the reason why I think this is important, is for guys that are out there that are on the dating scene or whatever, and girls are talking about this, and they're going to go whether you like it or not. So you just have to know what type of character you're dealing with if you're not cool with this, you know. But if it's one of those things where, she's going out of town and you don't trust the process, then at some point, are you willing to keep committing 100% of yourself to the relationship? Because at that point, it doesn't feel, and you're upset because you don't feel like she's bringing 100. So I think that this was a good example of, for guys out there that do feel as though, hey, man, are there any women out there that think, family and marriage and structure? And yes, there is. There are women that see past the turn up and see past the hot girl summers and really want to have a family. So it's just a matter of which one do you have, and if you have somebody that's out there playing around and not somebody doing the fundamentals at home, then treat them accordingly. So that was my initial take from that one as well. So
Yeah, I think it just depends on the dynamics of your social circle. Mm-hmm. See, the thing that's interesting about this is, okay, so this chick right here, right where we at, her on that side, this one on this side.
Yeah, that one.
So like, if you were out on a date with her, and the subject of girls' trips comes up, she would probably say, well, if I'm in a relationship, I don't really see the value in stuff like girls' trips. So it really does boil down to the type of individual that you are. And then the type of individual that you are, in my opinion, translates into the type of social circles that you run in. Mm-hmm. The dynamics of the group is what speaks to all of this. I believe that women who are like this mm-hmm. are more likely than not to be friends with other women who are like her. So for example, so in the clip, she talked about how she has like 3 actual friends, but then you have these other chicks who are acquaintances. Mm-hmm. It was the acquaintances who were talking about the Miami thing, right. But her friends like her are in relationships, right? Right. So like in her immediate social circle, she's not going to do girls' trips with her other friends who are in relationships. That's going to be more of a couples trip, mm-hmm. where each woman and their respective partners are all going on this thing together. Mm-hmm. And I believe that birds of a feather, for the most part, flock together. So she is probably ingrained in her to value those things. I don't think that that's necessarily something that can be taught. At this point, the way that I'm kind of looking around, seeing how this goes, if you're raised on shenanigans, then you're going to be a shenanigan into adulthood. Yeah. And I just kind of feel like women who would think that this chick is brainwashed are the types of women who, even if they're in relationships, they are going to do stuff like go on girls' trips because they think that it's their inherent right, which it is technically. But please understand that these are also the same types of women who will upgrade at a moment's notice. They go on girls' trips regardless of whether they're in a relationship or not. And if they are in a relationship, if the right guy who matches the right profile comes along and shows interest in her, if you're with women like that, sir, you might be on the fast track to getting cut off by her.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter how much time you put into that relationship with her or not.
Mm-hmm.
So you brought up the notion of spirit in the video that we did last week. And I think that men intrinsically know when they are encountering a certain type of spirit. Mm-hmm. And it has to be incumbent upon you as a man, regardless of how much time, money, or effort that you put into your situation with her, when you notice some red flags like this, to just walk away. You have to have the fortitude to go your own way. Because if you continue to invest your emotions into it, you're going to open yourself up to the very real possibility of disappointment. Because women who think opposite of this, they don't care. They don't care. It's almost as if they have no soul. And they look at relationships as more of a stepping stone than as a particular life achievement that takes watering the grass in order to make it turn green and grow. For them, it's more of a come up. So they'll go to Essence Festival and they'll go to Jazz Festival and they'll go to all of these things with other single women, even if they got boyfriends at home, because if there's a baller who's out there at these events, they'll link up with the baller and you'll never find out about it if they're smart enough to hide what they do. And if the baller and them click on a strong enough level, she'll come back home, and after a certain period of time, she'll probably break up with you, because women like that are looking to upgrade their situation. They view relationships as a manner of upgrading, of attaining a certain type of lifestyle and upgrading from it. And they usually travel in packs. They're like wolves. And that's why this woman, when she prefaced what she said in the video about friends versus acquaintances, I think that kind of said it all right there. Like, her actual friend group, they're not really on that. But there are acquaintances who would try to tell her that she should be on it in order for her to be able to exercise her free will as a woman, as if you inherently lack free will because you're in a relationship, which is a toxic mentality to have. Mm-hmm. And women who are perpetually single maintain that type of toxic mentality. The interesting thing about it, though, is that they wonder why they're single. And it's like, well, the reason why you don't get it is because you kind of live in this. You live in this space from an ideological standpoint that does not allow you to see how some of your actions and behaviors prevent you from being able to claim or find what it is that you think you want to find. So, you know, it's all really about the social circle. And like, you know, you brought up a good point. This is a cautionary tale, I think, for guys more so than for women, because women don't give women whatever.
Like, they're gonna do it anyway.
Because they're gonna do what they do, and it doesn't matter. And women receive the attention, so they don't really have to. This type of red. Now, there's other red flags women got to look out for. This type of red flag isn't one of them, because like, women just kind of sit there and they receive the attention from men, and they evaluate their next course of action accordingly. But for men who are trying to evaluate worthy partners, women who are actually girlfriend and wife material, it's really black and white, bro. And, you know, you might think, let me take that back. Don't let women, rather, not all women, but some women, convince you that your trepidation for single woman-like activities like girls' trips is a bad thing, and that you need to learn how to live with it. Don't get brainwashed into believing that that's true. It's not. Your trepidation is valid, and you feel it because you understand common sense. Like, if you're in a serious or committed deal with a chick, the question isn't whether you should be okay with her going. The question is, why would she even want to engage in those activities?
Thank you.
That's the question. So like, but the thing about it is, don't even try to convince them that they shouldn't want to engage in those activities. Right. That's an exercise in futility.
Right.
Rather, just go your own way. Right. Go your own way, bro. Don't try to fit square pegs in round holes, because when you try to fit those square pegs in round holes, you end up a square trying to fit in the round holes, and then things don't fit. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to be a square. You want to stay on your square, but you don't want to be one. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's pretty much what it's all about.
I agree wholeheartedly, and it's those things, because the perspective that we have. So not being from Miami, and then visiting Miami, when you're not from Miami, it's a big deal to people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so from being from Miami and then going out there on the beach, I mean, we would see those circles of girls and they are wilding. They're doing their thing out there. And at the time when we was really out there running around acting like, fools when we were kids, we were still too young to actually know what was going on 100%, but we
Yeah.
still saw what was going on. And those girls that were coming, these girls are, hey, where y'all from? We from Connecticut. Where y'all from? Oh, we from Michigan. Hey, where y'all from? Oh, we from. And they are out of control. They're just wilding out there. And when I mean out of control, I mean basically if they had a dude and the dude saw what they were doing on film, those guys would be livid.
You have to feel
Okay?
some type of way. Yeah,
Exactly. And that was just the stuff we saw in clubs. So
yeah,
that's not the stuff that, they're actually hooking up with dudes out there when their hotel rooms out there on the beach and whatever the hell else that goes on down there. So is it every female that goes to the beach? No. Is it every woman? No. But the thing is why are you out there? And even if it is a girl that she's caught up in the whole naive notion that, hey, I just have to be a woman and enjoy myself and not be held down by a guy. And she's running out there with her friends. At some point, it has to dawn on her, look at what everybody's doing. And is this conducive to a healthy relationship when I'm bringing this kind of energy around my family, essentially?
yeah,
So there's family environments. There's ways that you can actually have a good time with your family, even though you may not even have kids. Hey, y'all together, right? This is y'all family. So it has to be more of a clean type of entertainment. And basically, like she said, hey, if the man can't go, then I'm most likely not going to go.
yeah,
And so, but yeah, bro, we've seen it before. I don't think it stopped. I'm sure the same thing goes on down there. Hell, when I used to do Uber and Lyft down there, and I'm picking up these waves of girls, and they from California. What if they were out of control, twerking in the cab, and all kinds of stuff?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm going.
But yeah, it hasn't stopped.
Huh?
It hasn't stopped. Yeah, it hasn't stopped.
It was one time, bro. I'm on I-95, leaving the beach to take them somewhere, and I'm going like, I don't know, 80 on there, and then I'm going like 80, but the girls would the girl in the passenger seat just gets up and just starts twerking, going crazy for the cars that were passing by, and then all of her homegirls is woo out the window, woo, that's my bitch right there. And I'm like, man, hey, if boyfriend, you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? If seeing this stuff, I get it. Guys have their own form of fun and girls have their own form of fun. But again, man, it's just one of those things of how are you representing the relationship? How do you feel? And when you're wilding like that out of town, what does that say when you're in town? What does that say about your desires and your things that you have to get, the itches you have to scratch and,
yeah,
as a woman. So it's kind of one of those things of, yeah, just being cautionary of, hey, man, once they start saying stuff like this, it's not an automatic ban, but it's definitely one of those situations where, yeah, I would throw a red flag out there. I would like a booth review for that type of behavior. Yeah, and I would like some conclusive evidence on the back end that I could trust her if she go out of town, or I don't like her or her friend. I mean, I don't like her friends for her when she goes out of town. They're a little too fast for me. She keeps telling me how they fast and she's slow. I'm not buying it, you know. And so, yeah, I'm not buying it. So, look, man, I'm not 14 no more. I'm not 16. So, I don't know who she's going to sell that to. Oh, my friends do this, but I don't. I get it that there are pockets and outliers of people where that happens, but sorry, man, I'm not buying it anymore. I'm with you more or less on the notion of the birds of a feather thing of, hey, man, the 5 closest people around you are a reflection of you. So whether or not you're not captain thought like your friend is, you still have some thought-like tendencies. And those things need to be evaluated and monitored if infidelity is a reason why a marriage or a relationship will break up.
yeah,
And so I've found myself more or less in a bubble of, if I'm dealing with a woman that is like this young lady here that's being responsible with it, I can be responsible. But if I'm dealing with a relationship or a situationship where she feels as though having a life outside of the relationship is what's going to keep the relationship stable, well, why shouldn't I have a relationship not what relationship was. Why shouldn't I have, you know what I'm saying, my own life outside of the relationship to balance out the fact that she's doing whatever the fuck she wants?
Yeah.
And so if you're in a relationship and you're holding it down, you're like, hey, I ain't gonna do this because I don't want to send the wrong signals to my woman. Hey, I'm not gonna do that because I don't want to send the wrong signals to my woman. But yet still she does everything to send the wrong signals to the relationship. But you're the insecure one for questioning it. So if you're dealing with those type of women, you got two choices. Either take it and be happy with it, or you got three. Take it, be happy with it, leave it, or combat it with your own form of balancing for you having your own life outside of the relationship. Yeah. But again, that's not stable. That's not sustainable.
It's not at all.
And so the best thing is just to leave the situation all together, you know, and not bog yourself down and worrying nor caring if there's a woman out there that's so independent, that's so, you know, in her bag that she can't see herself being tied to a man in a more traditional quote unquote format. And I don't even think it has anything to do with tradition. And I think it has everything to do with respect. And if the guy's not cool with it, don't do it, you know? And, but hey, this is the day and age that we're in. But again, fellas, I would just say that they're going to come with this. You just have to know which category they're in and how much, you know, salary are you willing to allot to a woman who basically says that I don't love this game the way that, you know, other people love it. You know, it's kind of like you're drafting somebody. It's like, yeah, you ask them some interview questions and yeah, I like to go on trips. I like to do this. I like to do that. And it's like, all right, so where's your team building stuff? You know, I'm asking you these questions. How are you about team building? They're always talking about spending money. They're always talking about going out, traveling, seeing the world. Yeah, that's what you're going to do with these checks. But what are you going to bring to the team? How are you going to improve your own life? And those aren't really the conversations that these types of women are having. They're all talking about spending, having a good time, sugar daddy lifestyle, basically being glorified prostitutes. So, yeah, man, it's a wild dynamic, but categorize them in the right way. That's what I would say for these types of scenarios. You know?
Well, I mean, again, to me, it's kind of simple. It's an intrinsic thing. Like, so women like her, she doesn't look at the idea that she needs to be able to have or retain some sort of life outside of her relationship in order for her to feel good about herself. That idea doesn't even come into her mind.
Exactly.
So it's a situation where it either is or is not there. Mm-hmm. Like for her being in that relationship, now that's her life. Mm-hmm. And so that is what kind of she orients her life around it because that is her life.
Right.
And that's why she's in it. Women who think that they have to retain some sort of life, if like women who believe that they have to have some sort of aspect of themselves that exists outside of their relationship in order to retain their identity, they're always, not always, but they usually don't have a relationship that they're in anyway.
Exactly.
So it's like, it doesn't even matter. Like it really is kind of black and white, honestly.
Yeah.
Like the thought doesn't even creep into like the thought that she doesn't, it was an easy call for her to make when the acquaintance asked her that question. No, I'm not going.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to go. And to try and explain why it's not a good idea to go on the grounds that you're in a relationship to someone who's not in a relationship is a waste of time.
Yeah, it is.
Because women who aren't in relationships and they don't view relationships in that regard, it doesn't compute. It's like 2 + 2 is 5 to them. They don't understand it. Mm-hmm. For them, that is not having an identity. It's the whole nature versus nurture gender role thing. It goes back to those types of arguments as well. Women who sort of don't view adhering to certain roles within their relationship as a form of being domineered usually are in good marriages. And they don't think that because I cook and do laundry, that means that some man is controlling me. That thought doesn't even cross their mind. It doesn't. But for the ones who think, oh, you want me to do this or that, I'm not going to do this. These are my non-negotiables. I'm not doing this or that. This is not my role. It's not going to be my role. They're not married. they're not married. And even if they get married, it usually ends in divorce. I mean, 51% of marriages end in divorce these days anyway. So, who's to say that the ones who think like this aren't the lion's share of the relationships that end in said divorce? So really, it's just recognizing this type of spirit and just staying away from it. I had a friend. I still have this friend, not had. I have a friend. Years ago, we were talking. We were out at like a bar or something, and we were hanging out. It was me, her, and a few other people. And, she was talking to me about how she had some friends who were going to like Destin or something for like a weekend or whatever, or they were going somewhere. It was like a beach thing or whatever. Mm-hmm. And now the interesting thing about her is she was the one who was in a relationship with a bunch of other girls who ain't got no boyfriends. Mm-hmm. So she was explaining to me about how she didn't go. And, she was the only one who didn't go. And they were all going to be on this trip, having fun, posting on Instagram and all whatnot. And I was like, you don't feel bad that you didn't go? Like, you don't feel like you're missing out? And she was like, I mean, no, not really. I mean, I have a boyfriend. I'm not just going to go on some trip like that with a bunch of single women. And, I was like, does it matter? Like, why does it matter? Like, and this was me back then asking these questions. I'm like, why does it matter whether you're in a relationship or not? Would he have an issue? And I knew her boyfriend, so I know the kind of guy that he is. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't mind. Like, why wouldn't you just go? It seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. And basically her response to me was, it is what it is. I kind of don't take relationship advice from women who aren't in relationships. And I was like, wow, that's very profound. Because essentially these girls were trying to tell her why her boyfriend and her relationship shouldn't play a role in her decision as to whether she should go or not. And, and to the guy, to his credit, he wasn't one of these dudes who was like, you shouldn't go. But for her, she was just fundamentally like, I'm just not going to go. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't really want to go without him, but I'm not going to drag him on this thing with a bunch of these other single chicks. So I'm just not going to go. I'm not really missing out on nothing anyway. And I'm not going to listen to them because ain't none of them got mans. They single. And so I was like, well, that was one of the first times that I learned that it's something that's either there or it's not. And, she might have had these friends, but she didn't go. And, she was like, I'm just not going to listen to other women tell me about relationship stuff when they're not in a relationship themselves. So it's just kind of there, man. And it's like, just listen to that. The little voice that tells you, I don't like the fact that she's just so comfortable and content with decisions like this. Like, if that's something that you feel, listen to the little voice. And don't let women bully you into thinking that voice is an unreasonable voice that you need to not listen to, that you need to somehow subdue. Just listen to it. Broach the subject. Don't immediately cut it off. Broach the subject. See what she has to say. And if she responds in an uncompromising way, it might be a good idea for you to just kind of explore other options and meet other women and see what they have to offer.
Yeah, I agree. And this one here is such a touchy subject. And if it's not, it don't have to be an absolute deal breaker. But again, man, it's just one of those things where in the heat of the moment when it's happening, if you don't like it, you're really not gonna like it. And it's going to cause a ripple in a relationship, whether you like it or not, because you feel some type of way about it. So if you're going to feel some type of way about it, this is a good interview question to see where she's at and to see if you can tolerate it or not. And if she tells you that, hey, I think every woman should have a life outside of the relationship, I think that, I'm not saying that that's a problem, but when that's a talking point, you have to really be mindful of what that means when she says that.
Exactly. That's the thing, is what does life outside the relationship mean? Right. Does it mean that you have friends and y'all do hot yoga, right, and Pilates and right, go to those paintings and wine and sips? Right. Or does it mean that y'all take 4 or 5 days to go jetting off to LA or New York or Chicago? There's degrees of separation. So it's like, what let's qualify this. Okay, what do you mean? First of all, in my opinion, if you ask me, this whole thing about life outside the relationship, if you think like that, right away, that's an indication that you're probably just not built for this type of stuff. You're just not built for it. But even if you want to give them the benefit of the doubt and have the conversation, okay, what do you mean by life outside the relationship? Or you want to go to Mardi Gras with your girls for 5 days, and that to you is life outside a relationship. Okay, I'm going to question that. Exactly. I'm going to question that. Because, okay, me and my homeboys finna go to Miami for 5 days, and we going to Tootsie's every night. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is, even if you trust me, if it is something that's in me where it's like, I'm going to want to do this, that's probably a toxic situation. Like, it's probably just a toxic situation. Like, you know,
what are y'all doing?
And like you said, like, you're not, it becomes even more untenable when now you're doing things in response to her doing things.
Exactly.
So now it's like, oh, because you did this, now I'm going to start doing this. All it's going to do is lead to fussing and fighting and arguing.
Exactly.
And so, like, just, you know, it is just don't do it. Like, it's just easier on your psyche and your mental well-being to just avoid the situations and not do them, as opposed to trying to figure out some kind of workaround. And, oh, well, we can do this or that or compromise in this regard. Like most stable functioning relationships, these things don't even come up because it's not even a thought that gets considered. It's just not even, it's not even an afterthought. It's a, why would I even consider this type thing? It's like an automatic. It's an automatic type thing.
I mean, even if it was one of those things where if it was an in-town thing and they always wanted to, it's like going to the club. And it's like, why do you always want to go to the club with your friends? Like, that's a single person activity. Like, and that's not just a regular single person activity. That's a particularly, you know what I'm saying? That's like a specified area that, you know. And so when we're dealing with that, it's kind of like, well, I can't deal with that either. You know, what does that mean? Like, what are you in the club? I know what I went to the club for. So what are you going for?
Right.
And so the same thing for these events that go down in these cities where it's a big event. I know why I went there. Why are you going there? Oh, my friends are going there. Why are they going there? You know, and are you going to be in the middle of that when they're there to do what they're there to do? Like, when are you going to say no? How are you going to say no? You know? And so, again, that doesn't mean that they're actually going to do this stuff. They can actually really go out there, have a good time, take pictures, and sip mimosas. But the thing is that what character are you introducing into your locker room? And if you don't feel as though you can deal with that character, because that's just the way that it can materialize itself, that this trait shows itself in other verticals of your life.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things of, yeah, I agree. I think this is one of those black and white things. Needless to say that young lady I was talking to, although she's cool, we're not compatible because she was dead set on going out of town. She was just dead set on doing that. And when I told her that, okay, you're allowed to do that, and I don't care what goes on out there, she didn't like that either. Because at some point they basically use it, and this is a theory of mine, but they basically use it to keep the guy off balance. Now, a lot of guys that play the game and are aware of the game, you know, you play a woman by keeping her off balance. You never have, she don't know if she's coming or going. And by that, you know, she's always going to hang around, stay around. And for women, I've realized that they try to use certain levels of quote unquote insecurities in a man that every man would have.
Yeah. Right.
And they play on those things as a level of control to see how much he cares and all this other crap. And then basically get him out of pocket and behaving out of his normal character. So since I've noticed that, and then I would tell, I was letting, I guess it's some type of art of war thing where I shouldn't let them know that I know that they're doing that. So therefore I don't care.
Yeah.
So in the next situations, I'm just not going to say it, but I'm going to just act that way whenever they talk about, yeah, I'll go out. And I'm like, in my brain is, okay.
Yeah.
Noted. Yeah. And then from there on out, however she decides to play it, it's just she'll continue to let me know who she is. Yeah. And I saw a thing with DMX, a quote DMX was saying, I don't know exactly what the quote is, but his thing was basically trust people to be who they are.
Yeah.
And he says it requires way too much energy to not trust people. So he said, just trust people to be who they are. So basically, a cat gonna be a cat, squirrel gonna be a squirrel, and a thief gonna be a thief, a liar's gonna be a liar, cheat's gonna be a cheat. And whenever you're doing your interview process, man, I ask all kinds of questions.
Mm-hmm.
And once they start telling me the things that's going on in their past, are people 100% their past? No, they're not. But at the same time, you're giving me a pretty good window of your behavioral choices.
Yeah.
And at this point, if you got a good enough background on their behavioral choices, then on top of that, she's letting you know that currently she'll still go out of town on your ass. Then at this point, this is somebody that you cannot allow to give your heart to.
Yeah.
And as soon as she do that, here comes daggers because she's going out of town. Here comes daggers because you're insecure about this, and here comes this because you're insecure about that. Yeah. So it's just be mindful. To me, it's getting a little bit more black and white. It's less gray area with this, and it's kind of like, hey, either she's talking like this young lady here, where she clearly gets it. She may have seen successful relationships in her life. I'm gonna just call that a hunch. Mm-hmm. She might have grew up around brothers or uncles who knew things. I'm gonna call that a hunch too.
Yeah.
And so just saying, if they don't speak like this, where they're like, hey, no, I take relationships seriously, so serious that, I'm willing to sacrifice, because that's what sacrifice is. Sacrifice isn't being cheated on, dunked on, and all stuff like that. Sacrifice means sacrifice living single. And you sacrifice the whole single lifestyle just so you can share a life with somebody else, because they have an ego and feelings too, and you don't want to bruise or injure that. And so if you're coming from that place, solid. If she's coming from that place, that's solid. That's the type to wife up. But if she's coming from the other side where she just want to play street ball all day, she don't care about the fundamentals. She traveling is whatever, carrying is whatever. Then you know exactly what to do with that.
Yeah. Yeah, and she gonna go whether you want to go or not.
Okay.
I don't know. Like every time I've seen, and I watch people, and I watch stuff, and I go out into these single people venues like clubs and bars and whatnot. It never fails. Like the women who are in relationships, if they still partake in those types of activities, the man is there. Like women who go to the club who are in relationships, they go to the club with the man. The man goes to the club too. If they like going out to bars or whatever, doing things like that, the man is there. If there's trips, things like that, it's a couples thing or the guy comes too. It's just, to me, this is just kind of simple. And it's one of those things that despite its simplicity, I think there is a tendency for men to ignore what they intrinsically know to be something that's not okay, because especially in this day and age, we as men have such a sense of urgency about trying to make relationships work or be in relationships because of how difficult they have become to attain. And so it's easier for women because women receive all the attention, but for men who have to go out in a certain and try to acquire these things, because you never know when you're going to get that next nut, like you kind of press and you start to consider letting certain things slide that you otherwise wouldn't want to let slide, because you want to stay in this, because if this don't work out, now I'm back on the schneid for another 6 months to a year, because who knows when I'm gonna meet another girl or something like that. Mm-hmm. So like because of these types of, because of these certain various, just because of the environment as a whole, like we have kind of been beaten into submission as men, where we just kind of accept certain things that otherwise aren't okay, because we just want to hold on as much as possible, which is unfortunate, and that I don't have a solution to. Honestly, I don't. The only thing that I can say is red flags are red flags. It just is what it is. And if you are someone who is not okay with certain things like this, then just understand how to recognize them and just adjust your decision-making process accordingly. Even if you kind of relegate them to being somebody who you kind of hang out with and link up with from time to time, even that might be easier on your soul. But to just fully invest into a full-on relationship, and you have to deal with those types of, complications, it's best to just kind of not even deal with them and to just go the other way.
Agreed.
So, it just is what it is, man. But I just kind of think that it's simply stated, and you know, women who go out, they go out, and the man is there, and they're happy together, and that's it. And women who feel like that's a problem or an issue, check their relationship status. If they are single, then they ought not to be listened to. Like, you know, for real, like they just shouldn't be listened to.
Mm-hmm.
Just let them do what they do and just don't listen to them.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
But yeah, we'll go ahead and cut that, and we'll move on to the next topic. So this can be argued is the inverse of what we just discussed. So this is a situation where we can kind of point out how men, certain men, not all men, but this is an instance in which we as men can do ourselves a disservice. So we are going to talk about, so basically, if you want to cue it, is it queued up to make sure that like there's no ad that's going to play?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So basically, this is a female who was in the gym working out, and she was recording herself working out because that's what women at the gym do these days. And there was a guy who came up, tried to holler at her, and he not only did he try to holler at her at the gym, but he did so in a rather crass way. And so she posted it, and she basically made a mockery of him and talked about how, you know, gym harassment is something that needs to be pointed out at all costs. And this is what not to do, guys. So we'll go ahead and play this, and then we'll talk about this one once it's done.
This is what happens every booty day.
You know that every day I would like to right there and that. You all that booty. Damn, bro.
Damn, girl.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's nice and sweet. So yeah, if you didn't catch that, she was doing some kind of lower body workout. Old boy came up to her, and he was like, every man would like to have you in that position. Don't you know every man would like to have you in that position? And, you know, she kind of, you know, in tongue in cheek, laughed it off. And she posted it afterwards, talking about how this is gym harassment, and until men, and you can read that caption right there, no amount of negative comments on any platform will stop me spreading awareness about gym harassment and poor gym etiquette, because this is wild. The sooner, parentheses, some men realize they can't just say and act how they wish, the better. So to her credit, she didn't give the impression that she was talking about all men. She did use the word some to make it clear that she understands that not all men do this, but that some men do this. However, whenever you post this, even if you recognize that it's only some men, whenever you post these types of things, it can give off the impression that it happens more often than not, because otherwise, why would you have to post about it? So yeah, she posted it, and you know, it's gym harassment. Now, I will kind of side with her. I do think that it does men a disservice to act in this way, but this is what happens when you have a society full of men who have social atrophy. When you don't know the right and most effective ways to assert yourself towards women, you get situations like this where now a woman can use that as an opportunity to point out how men act in bad faith. And so I think that it would behoove us as men to understand how to not do stuff like this, because you have to know, as a guy, it's important to know that when you walk up to a woman in the gym and you tell her that a man would love to have you in that position, she does not find that endearing. That's not necessarily something that she wants to come into contact with when she's working out at the gym. And when you do that, you're basically sending a signal to women in the gym that this is what all men are on, especially all men in the gym are on this type of stuff. And so you're kind of hurting the cause, bro. And I I don't think that this is so. I don't think this is a message that you want to send. I don't think you want to send this message to women, and I also don't think that you want to send this message to other men who are trying to figure this thing out. Because the next guy who does this is going to be met, I think, with the same reaction. I don't know. Not every chick is going to post about this, but in her mind, she's going to find it to be gym harassment. And the less of us out here being perceived as harassers, the better. So, that was kind of initially what I thought about that.
Yeah, I took this as, and I agree with all of that, honestly. And I just took this as, yeah, like how you said, basically the social atrophy, the inability to shoot an appropriate shot. So this guy was double, triple teamed, and he still took a shot.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things of, hey man, there's good shots. There's good bad shots. Crazy as that sounds, there's good bad shots.
Yeah,
But
sure.
when you're falling away from 36 feet and 3 people are draped over you, good luck if you're gonna make that. And so this woman is, she has her phone, she's recording herself. That's a defender. She doesn't want to be bothered. She probably has headphones on, right? She doesn't want to be bothered. That's another defender, right? She's not even near you. You had to walk all the way up there. That's another defender.
Yeah.
And so you went through all of that and shot your shot. Of course, you're going to look like a fool. And this guy here, I don't know who this works on. Every woman that I talk to, man, friends, homegirls, personal relationships and stuff like that, they all have this level of, I want to be comfortable first. For every woman, and this goes in a bedroom too, they like to be warmed up first before you just go ahead and start doing what you wanted to do. And so this guy just came in, no lube, everything dry, came straight at her and just tried to do his thing. And a woman needs to be warmed up first. She has to know who you are. She has to see you in there, be comfortable around you enough for you to even say anything remotely close to what he just said. And even if, honestly, if this was a situation where they would, be friends and cordial in the gym, this would have ruined it. So I don't know what kind of shot he was shooting. It would seem ridiculous, but I see this all too often where guys who don't have the appropriate equipment try to get a job done like this. And this guy has no shot. Don't you know every guy would love to have you? I mean, of course, but what is she supposed to say to that? Hey, here's my number. You can put me in this position. Like,
I don't know what you think is going to happen after that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what he's got going on. So it's this type of stuff. I totally agree. I would see this stuff all the time in the lines at the club. We'll be in the line at the club, and hell, we're gonna be here for the next 30 minutes, and it's starting to get a little chilly out here. Let's start introducing each other. So I would just meet the girls in line. I don't need to talk to the dudes. So I'm talking to the girls in line. Everything's fun and everybody's having a good time. Can I shoot my shot? I can. There, one from the outside will low key say that these girls are flirting with me or whatever, but I'm just trying to pass time in line. And then here comes some guy who sees that these girls have opened up and they're feeling comfortable. They immediately try to come in and shoot shots and just make it weird and just shoot, shut the whole damn thing down. So my thing is that guys, man, we really need to, as a unit, control the thirst. And for these thirsty dudes out here, these are our bad faith actors.
Yeah.
And these are the guys that are out there that are doing man wrong. And it's just like, hey, bro, I get it. That's what you say to your boys. You don't say that to a woman. And, nowadays with stuff like that, of course, it's going to be considered harassment. I think harassment is more of a thing if it's like, pervasive, consistent.
I just think that we live in a world the world runs on social media now. So I just think things need to be given titles and labels. So that's where the whole gym harassment. Gym harassment is like Me Too. Is things just get these titles and labels so they can be used as hashtags. That's all that is. I would not call that harass. He was not harassing her.
Right.
Was he being crass, and was he being an ineffective? Like you said, was he being ineffective at shooting his shot? Yes. Was he being crass? Yes. Was he being lame in his attempt? Sure, but it wasn't harassment.
Right.
But it's just called harassment because we just got to call everything something so that we can post about it these days. Like that's because he said what he said and walked off. He's not harassing her.
Right.
But that's just where that comes from. It's the social environment that we live in. That's just kind of the way the world is these days.
Yeah.
Movements and things need names and titles and labels so that they can be posted about.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, and I see that angle. And so, yeah, I just think that dudes overall, man, that are doing this stuff, lacking self-confidence or whatever, watch too much pornography or whatever. I think this is the kind of guy that will have an OnlyFans. And I'm not trying to stigmatize people, but this is the kind of guy who, he's used to seeing this on the internet before he hits. So this is what he says before or after he hits the like button on Instagram. So just like how you say, oh yeah, these girls go to the gym and they like wearing these things, and not wearing these things, but filming themselves. I don't know if all of them are going to social media platforms, but the thing is, a lot of it end up doing it. And so he just basically said whatever popped in his brain before or after he likes an image of, damn, any guy would love to have her in that position. Let me go ahead and tell her. This is a hell of a compliment. She'll love the fact to hear that. And it's like, no, dude, she doesn't want to hear that. That's creepy. That's weird. And honestly, it sounds like she needs to have her mace when she leaves the building. She's going to have it. Nah, that's weird. So, yeah, man. So you have to, for guys out there that, still on the fence, man, you still on the cusp. You're still trying to wean yourself off of OnlyFans lifestyle or something. Right? Yeah, man. Just know that.
Tell you.
Yeah,
tell you, man.
All women love to be lubed up first before you do anything, and that's with anything. All right, so you gotta lube them up. So the bedroom shows you that firsthand. That's just with that area, but they're like that in all facets of their life. And so the reason why they don't feel appreciated because you don't lube them enough. The reason why she doesn't feel like you love her or whatever, you're not lubing her enough. Now, granted, I'm not asking anybody to be some dude boy weirdo or whatever, but you still have to make her comfortable as well, at the same time. And so women require certain levels of massaging to keep them interested and engaged. But if you just ramming away doing whatever you want, then, at this point, we're no different than those girls that want to go out of town to Miami. So at some point, you do have to listen to the person that you're talking to and make sure that you keep them satisfied in the ways that they like to be satisfied. And women are very particular. They're not like dogs. They're more like cats. So their needs are different than ours. And one of their needs is to be more warm whenever you meet them and whatever. You can be confident and still shoot your shot at the same time. You can't be this guy level of confidence and shoot your shot. That's when you shoot yourself in the foot. So, but yeah, I think that a good thing here as well is the lubrication of women, more or less in the sense of you got to warm them up to the idea of them wanting to even talk to you in the first place. This guy just came in raw dog, ready to go, no lube. And of course there's friction there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That not the lube, the warming up thing that is transferable to life. Mm-hmm. Like, why did you have a poor shooting night? Oh, I didn't warm up. Like, if you don't warm up and take your 30, 40, 50, 100 shots before the game, and you just go out there and you ain't warmed up, you're not going to have a rhythm. You're going to miss more shots than you make.
Yep.
It's simple. If you're a quarterback or if you're a receiver and you ain't go out there and run a few routes, get yourself warmed up, you're not going to be fast off of the line of scrimmage. It's not going to be the same game as if you had won. Like, that's universal. That's a universal concept. Mm-hmm. And it applies here. And the problem is people don't realize that it doesn't apply. You know what? This is an evolution of, I used to always think that I was weird because back when we were doing our clubbing days, the idea, and this was back when it was easier to meet women. It's much more difficult to meet them now. This was back in the, back when we were doing our stuff, late 2000s into the, mid 2000 teens and all of that. This was back then when we were out, when we were in the streets. The idea was, if you're a guy and you like doing things like going to clubs and social gatherings where large groups of women also go and congregate, the idea was to be completely devoid of strategy and play the numbers game. So the idea was you're not supposed to be strategic. Rather, you need to cast a wide net and just holler at as many women as humanly possible and try to get as many numbers as humanly possible, because statistically, at least one or two of those, if you play the numbers game, are going to hit, just because you went out there with reckless abandon. It's the Iverson game. Put up 30, 40, 50 shots in a game, and I averaged 25 to 30 a game. But you were inefficient. You averaged 30 a game because you shoot 40 damn times. That's not an efficient game. So that's what was playing out when it came to us doing this whole thing. I was never on that. And I looked around and I saw every other guy doing that. So I thought to myself, should I even be here? Because I do strategy. I go up to the plate. I don't swing at every pitch. I'm going to wait until the pitcher throws me the right pitch, and I'm going to swing and I'm going to hit the home run. So I might go out 10 times and not hit a home run. But on that 11th time, I'm going to hit a home run. And my home run is going to be worth more than the 30, 40, 50 missed swings that every other guy, went out to the plate and swung and missed all of those times. But that's what every guy was doing. That was the conventional wisdom. Play the numbers game, be devoid of strategy, don't institute strategy. So you're going out and you're just saying crazy stuff, grabbing at the girl, using pickup lines, one-liners. You're getting rejected 9 out of 10 times. And just because you get the one girl out of the 10 who takes you up on your advances, it means you got lucky that one time. But other than that, you were completely inefficient and you were just getting rejected all night. I, for the life of me, could not understand why, as a man, I was supposed to commit myself to a behavior that resulted in failure more than success. That never made sense to me. My whole thing was, and I came from a sports background. So for me, if I practice something enough times, I'm going to get good enough at it through practice and repetition that I'm going to be more successful than fail. That to me is what makes sense. I work at something a lot. I practice. That means I succeed more than I fail. But when it came to this women thing and going out here and just shooting a bunch of shitty shots, basically what the world was telling me, what other guys was telling me, what some of my own friends were telling me was, hey man, it's okay to just miss all the time. Be inefficient. Like, you shouldn't be trying to be efficient. And that never worked for me. I never understood that. This is the evolution of that. What this guy did in the gym is the evolution of that. And I've seen this play out. I go to the gym a lot. I'm a big gym guy. The gym is a big part of my life. I go 4 days a week, 12 hours a week, 3 hours a day. And I see this thing happening. I see guys doing this. This is the evolution. There's no logic or strategy or inherent social skills behind what they're doing. What they're doing is casting a wide net. And they're saying the results don't matter. What matters is the attempt. I could care less about what the results are. All I care about is the attempt. I'm just going to get the shots up. If it goes in, great. If it doesn't go in, I'll live with going 0 for 10 in a game and being inefficient and causing my team to lose because of how poorly I shot, because of how low my shooting percentage is. And like you brought up the OnlyFans thing, I completely believe that this guy probably be on Instagram and TikTok commenting on Instagram models' photos and videos, commenting and liking pics and just seeing if maybe one of these chicks will respond back, and they never do. They never do because they don't give a shit about your comments. They don't care about your likes. But he is living, and he looks like an older guy. So he isn't even a part of the generation that's being taught to live in this reality. He's just kind of adapting to it. He's just living his life through that prism. Like, this is how I conduct myself digitally. So this is also how I conduct myself in real life as well, in person as well. I don't play results. I just operate based upon my attempts. It doesn't matter what the results are. It's a formula that does not compute to success in any way whatsoever, but it's an evolution of the way that we have been sort of reared to conduct ourselves socially and culturally. And to me, it just doesn't make sense. It's just a problem because women respond to this. And so this is what causes the difficulty, because when you have enough women who have been subjected to this kind of thing on a regular enough basis, now when they do go to the gym, they are completely closed off and they are defensive and they do have the deflector shield up and they do keep the headphones in and they don't make eye contact and they're not making an effort to look at you and smile and be friendly, because they don't know if they do that, you're going to come up to them and say, I like you in that position. So we have screwed this whole thing. Like, honestly, I think that we've screwed this up. And like what disappoints me about, and I'm kind of going galaxy brain at the moment with this, but what disappoints me a lot about like these content creators and these guys who make these videos talking about how women are the bad guy all the time, they don't bring up the nuance. Like let's have the chicken or the egg conversation. Did women just start to close themselves off and be completely, absent of, inviting you in so that you can maybe have a conversation with them? Or did guys screw up the dynamic by just doing the most? Like, which one happened first?
Well, I mean, I tell you, bro, like this was back when I was in college, and we had some great discussions in college, by the way.
Yeah.
And so back when I was in college, the girls in one of my class, they were talking about guys shooting their shot and just how inconsiderate and just it doesn't matter what's going on. So girls would be like, man, I could be in my sweats, hair not done, bonnet on, whatever, going to take the trash out, walking their dogs, going to the mailbox. Like everything's an event for a woman because she doesn't know that a passerby in the car is honking, hey, red, hey. One girl on I think it was on TikTok, person was like, I look like shit right now. I look like shit. One girl was pregnant on TikTok. The guy, and guess what the guy said, bro? Pardon my French, but the guy said, can I poke that baby in the head?
Oh my God.
Yeah, sorry, warning, graphic.
Oh my God.
That's what a guy said to a woman while she's pregnant. So she had to get on TikTok right after this guy shot that type of shot. There's guys out there doing this, and then when they come to talk to us, they're like, hey man, are you him? Are you that guy?
I don't even think they ask the question anymore. I think it's gotten to the point where they assume
that we're him.
Yes, like you wonder, like, okay, so we bring up, and we used to always talk about the idea of meeting women in the daylight. Like, it's kind of counterintuitive. Like, yes, when you go to the club, meeting women is something that is a realistic proposition from the standpoint that there's so many of them in there. So there's such a heavy cluster of them in the same localized area that you can't help but try to meet them because there's so many of them there. But, and this speaks to your point about warming them up, really what's most conducive to actually meeting women and making connections is meeting them in environments where you can actually converse and where you can work on having them lower their deflector shield.
Thank you.
So the idea was about, okay, so how good are your social skills when it comes to meeting women in grocery stores or, in department stores or at the mall, public places like this? Like, are your social skills only geared towards meeting women in clubs and bars, places where honestly it's the most counterintuitive to meeting them? Or do you have a well-rounded game where it doesn't matter what environment you're in, you can adjust and adapt and assert yourself in an appropriate fashion based upon what your environment is? And so we used to talk about that. The problem is we have evolved and gotten to the point where you got a homeboy at the gym saying, I want you in that position. We've gotten to this point to where now even in the daylight, women are reticent to even give you the remote impression that they want to be approached. So like now you got women in gyms and grocery stores and all of these kinds of places. They're constantly on the phone. They don't make eye contact. They don't give you those subtle context clues that would let a man otherwise know, I find this guy interesting. I wouldn't mind if he approached me. They used to do those things.
Mhm.
They now no longer do them.
Mhm.
And the question is, why don't they do it? In my opinion, they don't do it because they encounter enough of this that they just say, I don't even want to be bothered anymore. Like, I'd rather just give you the impression that I don't want to be bothered than to have to deal with that. So I'm not going to make eye contact. I'm not going to smile. I'm going to look down at my phone constantly. I'm going to be in my headphones constantly so as to not even give you the slightest possible window for you to come in and assert yourself. I think we've gone too far left with this stuff. And, I think it was the whole club movement, the whole catcalling movement, which was a thing, to be fair, because I saw it. I saw it play out. I just reckless abandon. I don't care. No strategy whatsoever. I'm just going to cast this wide net and just see how much of it sticks. And so, it's the combination of that combined with the advent of, the digital space and the internet, OnlyFans and Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, whatever you want to name, basically rendering a lot of guys devoid of adequate social skills. So many of us are walking around with social atrophy. We don't know how to say, hi, how you doing? Hey, my name is so-and-so. Like, we don't even know how to do that anymore. Mm-hmm. And so the combination of those two things has created this environment where you got gym harassment and or Me Too, or just women in general who just kind of make it difficult for men to even shoot an appropriate shot in the first place. Because, this is kind of where we are. It's unfortunate, but I can't completely, if I'm going to be fair, and, let me not use the word fair, because I don't believe there's a such thing as fair, but, to be reasonable, if I'm going to place blame in some of these places, could women stand to loosen themselves up a little more if they are single and on the market and figure out ways to be more tact when it comes to showing men interest? Sure. But by and large, really, it's what we need to do to fix a lot of this shit. And what we need to do is learn the value of incorporating better, more adequate social skills into our repertoire so that we understand how to appropriately assert ourselves. I promise that if more of us as men did that collectively, we would see more women who would become more affable and willing to lower the deflector shield so that the idea of meeting women doesn't become something that at times can seem so far away and impossible. Regardless of whether you are a guy who does stuff like this or not. Unfortunately, we all suffer the consequences for this. It doesn't, whether you're a guy who does these things or not, we all have to deal with the ramifications of it. So it's like, if we just did better, a lot of this, in my opinion, would go away. It's a lot of dudes out there, man. And I'm going to end it by saying this. A lot of us need to go watch the movie. What's the name of that movie? Damn, I'm going to look it up. It's a movie with Ryan Gosling where he's teaching, it's Ryan Gosling and Steve Carell. Steve Carell is like a guy in his 50s who got divorced. So he's been out of the game for so long that he doesn't even really know how to meet women. Ryan Gosling is a younger guy who's still in the game, so he's showing him the ropes. And there's a lot of good stuff in that movie that I think a lot of guys could stand to learn from when it comes to the right ways, depending on the environment, to assert yourself when it comes to women. Because we need less gym harassment posts and more, oh, this guy is interesting. I met this cool guy at the gym, or I met this cool guy at Best Buy or Publix. We don't see enough of that nowadays. All we see nowadays is, gym, I'm going to speak up about this because gym harassment needs to stop, and it's where we get these fallacious labels like toxic masculinity. It's like, no, don't conflate masculinity with bad behavior. That's just bad behavior. That has nothing to do with that guy's level of masculinity. Because I'm a masculine man and I'm proud of it. And I'm not going to allow you to tell me that my masculinity is inherently toxic. No, I'm masculine. I just know the difference between right and wrong. That's just bad behavior. Don't tell me that that's toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity is not a real thing. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, that name of that movie is called Crazy Stupid Love. By the
There
way.
you go. Yeah, Crazy Stupid Love. Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't
Y'all
seen.
need to go watch that. I know, some of y'all, because a lot of, especially us, a lot of black people. Oh, it's white people. No, get out of that. Okay, just go watch the movie. It will help you. Trust me, it can help you learn some. You'll learn some things from that. And I don't really shout movies out like that on a regular basis.
Right, you don't.
That one, that one is some real stuff for real. Like people need to go watch that.
I'll take a look at it, but yeah, So I guess the moral of this, because basically where I'm coming from is just warming them up, man. So if you're a dude, then you're like, hey, man, look, I be saying stuff like that, or on the spectrum of it, where it's just like, all right, well, cool. Well, just know that that's not cool, and they don't like it. I'm pretty sure you don't like your success rate either by saying stuff like that, and you just got to warm them up. So in this situation here, especially with gyms and stuff like that, even though I'm not like a gym goer, the times that I do go to the gym, there are situations where I do see a recurring person in there because we go at the same time.
Right.
And so if there is a thing, she's noticed you, or bro, they're like, you know what I'm saying? They're like crocodiles, bro. They see you before you see them type of thing.
They are the masters at not letting you know that they notice you.
Exactly. So once you saw her, bro, she already saw you. If she's interested, she'll let it be known, but you gotta let the situation warm up. And once the situation warms up and you finally do have an interaction with her, maybe y'all both at the water fountain, maybe y'all crossing the locker rooms at the same time or whatever, that's when you say your little friendly, playful stuff that you would say at a Walmart greeter. All right, Granny, she's 93 years old. You say that the same thing you would have said to Granny at the Walmart door, you say to her.
Yeah.
And for then at this point, she's gonna go, oh, here he comes. Here you go, about to shoot a shot. And then you go, nice weather we're having. I'm not saying talk about the weather,
right.
Throw her off. Nice weather we're having, or hey, I can't believe they're actually having leg day, blah blah blah, and then that, and just keep it moving. At some point, you become the gym friend or the gym whatever. And if she's available for you, she'll let it be known that, hey, shoot this shot. Basically, it's like you come down court and you can shoot. You come down court and she's backing off. She's letting you shoot now. Just go hit that jumper wide the freak open. But if she's got her defenders on her, you know what I'm saying, with her, her phone, her headphones, a mean mug, don't shoot it.
She's not even, listen, if she's not even making eye contact.
Exactly. So my thing is, there is a way to warm this up. Basically, if y'all always go to the gym together, you kind of like work with her. So it's kind of like a work friend. You can just, you're going to catch her on the flip side. There's no rush to shoot a shot like how this guy was shooting. You know what I'm saying? And this seems thirsty. He's acting like he's never going to see this woman again. Apparently, he goes to this gym, and apparently, so does she. He will catch her again. Yes. Will he get play from this woman? Never again. And why is that? Because he didn't warm up the situation. You know what I'm saying? And so this is not the nightclub. This is not a bar. So one-liners like this may not help you. If they do work for you, just know who it worked on. You set out a trap out here for a specific type of thought. And a whole bunch of women pass by this thing, and only one bit, hey, you're going to wife that up? You're going to do, you know what I'm saying? So what are you doing? What kind of bait are you putting out there? Are you going to really find yourself something that's stable and solid, or are you getting some slider? Because if you're going to do that, just go to the club. You know what I'm saying? Go to the club, get a slider, and then if you're ever doing this gym thing or broad day stuff, the person works at a store that you always go to or whatever. If you're always there and she always sees you, or you guys see each other enough, there's no reason to shoot so aggressively. And the only thing you have to do is just let it be known that you are interested, and then she'll reciprocate that. Once she lets you know, she backs off and allows you to shoot. You'll feel it when she allows you to shoot. And just like how Jay said, with either the eye contact or she's just in your vicinity all the time, hey, she wants you to say something. So I get it, man. You're not gonna win unless closed mouths don't get fed. I get it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, there does need to be some type of balance when you're out there doing these things, because whenever I do hear those stories for those girls walking to the trash or to get their mail, walk into the clubhouse and they're getting quote unquote harassed, we might as well call it that, and then the same thing where, oh yeah, well fuck you then, because you didn't want to give the number up. It's like, bro, I'm not even here. I literally just woke up and I went to get my mail. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a wild thing where we got a lot of bad faith actors in our community as well, and they make us as a whole look thirsty. And so yeah, how can they tell the difference, right? When we start talking to them and they're like, hey, are you one of those thirsty guys, or are you one of those guys that act cool for the first 2 months and then flip the game on me? Like, which one are you? So we got enough bad faith actors out there, but the solid dudes stay solid. But if you're out there struggling, man, and you're shooting these shots fading away 36 feet away with 2-3 defenders draped on you, cut it out. I'm honestly, bro.
I remember back when I was a little more naive, I used to really take pride in the fact that I was a strategy guy over a swing for the fences guy. I used to take a lot of pride in that. I used to take pride in being different. And I used to believe that my being different was a tool in my toolkit that I could use to my advantage, because I thought, oh, women are going to think I'm cool because I'm not doing what they're doing. Right. But what I quickly realized is they don't know the difference. So like at face value, I learned this a long time ago. And that's why I stopped thinking this way. I gave it up. At face value, women don't know the difference between a guy who's cool versus a guy who doesn't. They don't. They do not have those types of perception skills. They don't have it. So like when you're out and you're a strategy guy, and you're in the midst of guys who aren't strategy guys, you thinking that the chick is going to notice you because you're being strategic, it's not going to happen, because they don't know the difference. They don't. The only thing that they do know is if you have adequate social skills and you assert yourself in an appropriate way, they will be able to tell that that is not what they would call or categorize as harassment. And even then, once they realize that that's different, or that approach is different, it still does not guarantee conversion. It still doesn't guarantee that she's going to be interested. It still does not guarantee success. But what it does guarantee is your self-respect and your dignity. Right. And that should be enough for you to be able to reconcile. That should be enough of a reconciliation in the event that the situation did not work to your benefit from a success standpoint. But to just go in there and just say and do whatever because you just have no modicum of strategy or decorum to your game whatsoever, like you're doing yourself a disservice, and then you're doing all men a disservice, because all men have to suffer the consequences for that, whether you realize it or not. Women in general, walking around out here in the world who are single, do not make themselves available publicly because of these types of dynamics. And you can't convince me that that's something that's good for all men. So the more that we dial that back, I'm telling you, this is a theory of mine, but I believe it to be true. The more we dial this stuff back and become more strategic and tact with how we assert ourselves, the more women will loosen up and get warmed up to you to say what you say, and the easier it will be to meet them on a more regular basis. But until that happens, what we're going to have now is the defenders. You're going to constantly be double and triple teamed. all the time, and that doesn't win championships. It doesn't win championships. It doesn't even really get you into the playoffs. Like, you're a ninth seed at that point.
Yeah.
You're not going to win championships. So it is what it is, man. This stuff is more common than you realize. Like, I know a lot of girls, and all they love talking to me about the dumb shit that guys do, and they give me enough of these stories that it makes me believe it happens more often than not, because they're not making it up. And if this many of them, every day I got a new one. I can get on the phone right now and probably text a girl I know. If something happened to you with a dude recently, oh yeah, this guy, da 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 da, every time.
Yeah.
So if it's enough that I can get stories like this every time, it happens with enough regularity that it's a situation that needs to be addressed.
I agree.
And I don't serve social media enough, but I'm pretty sure that if I just put in hashtag gym harassment, I get hundreds of videos like this probably.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is an indication of a larger social issue. And it's no wonder we're sitting around, talking about how women do this and women do that and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, well, what are we doing? And what can we do furthermore to correct the issue? This is one of those things that we can do to correct the issue. But it's easier said than done, right? How do you just walk and tell a whole bunch of guys, hey, man, have better social skills and be patient and more tact? No one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear that. Like, these dudes don't want to hear that because they just want to get on, Instagram and like and post comments all day. And then they basically are just living avatars in real life. And they walk around. Essentially what this guy did was he commented on an Instagram post in real life.
Right. Exactly.
That's what he did. Exactly. And we got so many of us who live through the prism of these mediums, and we just emulate the behavior in real life, walking around. Mm-hmm. This is what we got. Mm-hmm. So until there's less of this, it's going to seem like it's harder to meet women. And this is my opinion, but I think we as men have no one to blame but ourselves, for the most part, for creating this dynamic. Could women do better in certain respects? Absolutely. It's not a blanket statement, but we've done enough to cause the difficulty.
No, I agree. And for male shooting the percentage to be as low as it is because of the whole volume shooting thing, I agree with that. That there does need to be. I agree that there does need to be a little bit more strategy. Because men are supposed to be strategic. And so that's part of our logic mindset, and so we are supposed to be more strategic in how we handle these situations. And the lack of that and just blindly shooting shots and whatever sticks attitude, that does have an effect as well. And so, it makes it difficult for, dudes out there that's actually really trying to do their thing. And now we're being restricted and held back because of bad faith actors. So it's definitely a social issue that does need to be addressed. I agree with that. But as we said in many streams before, the social atrophy that's going on due to levels of social media and reality TV shows, hell, even movies at this juncture, that are shaping the minds and the music. And they're shaping the minds of how people go about things or process information, then, the guys like this, they will continue to exist. And like you say, the harassment at the gym, quote unquote, it won't stop. I've seen enough. I've been there. I mean, there's times where I'm shooting my shot in a location. I told you, like Line Love or something like that, where we're doing the line. Hell, it could be either in the club or something like that. And some guy is just too aggressive, way too thirsty. And it's just like, yeah. And I was like, who does this work on?
Yeah.
Who does this work on, bro? She just ran for the hills.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if it does work on a woman, what kind of woman is that?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, nah, fam, it's got to stop. And and again, man, if you somebody out there's like, yeah, bro, I be doing shit like that, I ain't gonna lie. It's like, okay, bro, just know that there's better ways. There's different ways to skin a cat, and ball rotation, keeping the ball moving, not hogging. You know what I'm saying? And not trying to score all at once. You're not going to get all at once. Again, if you want that, what kind of woman are you talking about? You more or less will have to pay for that, literally.
Right.
So it's a thing where, hey man, come in a little bit more chill and less thirsty, bro. You're ruining it for the rest of us.
For real, man. I'm telling you, man. There are so many instances, and of course, it's my speculation, so I don't know it to be 100% unequivocally true. But I'm a pretty perceptive guy, and I'm very aware of my surroundings, and I observe people, and there are many times, throughout my daily life, where I have encountered situations where I could tell that a woman was going out of her way to avoid giving me any kind of impression whatsoever that she wanted me to approach her. And I didn't have, and the thing is, I'm a strategian, so I have no intention of approaching you unless you are giving me subtle hints to let me know that that's something that you're interested in.
Exactly.
I don't do things blindly. So but the thing is, they've encountered this often enough that they just look at every guy as a mark. And so I have been in situations where I have seen women do this to me, where they are like moving in a certain kind of way or turn, or they're doing certain things that give me the signal right away that they are doing it on purpose, so that I don't even get the remote impression that they want me to assert myself. And I had no plans to do it anyway. I wasn't going to do it. I'm minding my own business. But I could tell that they were doing that. And that shit comes from, they aren't inherently that way. I'm telling you. I know a lot of y'all watch Fresh and Fit all the time, and some of these other podcasters, AMS and these other guys who basically want to have you believe that women are to blame for everything and that your lack of success is all due to women's nature. Contrary to your belief in that, that's not actually true. There are certain things, these women have been encountering certain types of behavior over an extended period of time that have made them adjust their behavior accordingly in order to adapt and deal with it. And I have seen that affect me. So if it affects me, I know it affects every other guy too. And I'm not even the guy who's going to walk up to a random chick in the grocery store and say something. I'm not even that guy. And it's affected me. So a lot of this stuff just needs to be dialed back.
Agreed.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it for today, man. Appreciate everybody for tuning into this video. Definitely hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching this on the Facebook page, we still post there. Share the video, hit the like button, like the page as well. But the main thing is about the YouTube. We want to get the subscribers up. If you like the commentary in this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so you can get the notification whenever new content is posted to the channel. You can also follow Conscious Approach on Instagram at ConApproach, ConApproach. And you can also follow me on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. I certainly appreciate you supporting the channel. And as always, man, please continue to support logical content.
Yep. And the name is Dogon SS. You can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS or on YouTube at Dogon SS or any other social media platform at Dogon_SS. That's me, man. All right. So as I say normally, man, don't be too high, don't be too low, man. Keep it neutral and keep it player, keep it chill, bro. And again, like for the topics that we discussed earlier, man, don't let the women get you out of pocket. So that's the too high, too low, right? The woman can get you too high too, bro. So don't be too high, don't be too low, man. Keep it chill, man, because everything will eventually come down to the mean. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And once it decides to do that, if you're too high on the spectrum, you're going to feel that. You know what I'm saying? So don't be too high, don't be too low, man, and just keep it chill, bro. So as always, man, stay safe out there, y'all. You know
Yeah. Facts. And until next time, man, we out of there. We'll see you later.
Peace.